What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some crazy battles in the Open Great League with the full Timburr evolution line, of which both Timburr, which is level 50 by the way, and Girder got buffed this season having access to low kick, finally making them somewhat viable. Now Conkeldurr did not get buffed this season, but it has some very important coverage for the team with both Poison Jab and Brutal Swing, because without it, Ghost and Fairy types are a huge problem, and let's face it, it feels like basically every other team you face these days is going to feature a Gelatin and really tough core, which is super annoying to deal with, especially with this team, but you'll see in this video if I was able to overcome that core at all with this trio. Now before we get into the question of the day, I want to remind you all that I am running the Battle of Spice during this league rotation, where the aim is to obtain a win with the spiciest and most unique team you can possibly put together. You can submit a battle in all three leagues as well as a Great League Classic Edition, which you can find out more about by visiting the link in the description and in the pinned comment. Now with that being said, let's finally get into the question of the day. What do you think is the most viable full evolution line that would be possible to run all on the same team in the Go Battle League? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so go into the first battle, leading Shadow Conkeldurr into a shiny Jellicent. Now, this is definitely where we want to see it for this team. However, it's still not a very comfortable matchup for me, as of course, whilst Poison Jabs are only single resisted compared to Counter, which is the alternate fast move, which is going to be double resisted, I still don't deal very much fast move pressure whatsoever. But here, we're going to go for the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing, going to be shielded by the opponent, and I can now fire off a second Brutal Swing, as the opponent full sent a Shadow Ball the first time around, which is definitely overkill for the Conkeldurr. At this point, I'm going to shield. They do just settle for a Surf this time around, but I can still very comfortably outpace them here, going for a third Brutal Swing. However, despite being super effective, it still doesn't quite get the KO. Not only that, I'm not sure if I've quite put them into range where I can low kick farm them down. It's going to be super close, but no good. They're just barely missing out. They reach a last second charge move. They just settle for the Surf. They had the energy for the Shadow Ball, so we do get quite fortunate there. However, they're now going to come in with a Wigglytuff, which is something that I do not want to see. However, we do have a a pretty decent edge advantage here. I was trying to reach a Stone Edge. I realized I'm not going to get there, so we settle for back-to-back Brick Breaks, but we're forced to swap into our Timburr. And of course, the opponent gonna go for a Swift. They don't debuff my attack stat with an Icy Wind. We get the farm down, but their final Pokemon is a Ferret, and hold on a second here. We are super low, but it doesn't really matter. We're resisting the fast move pressure. We get to a second Brick Break, winning CMP. Brick Break takes out the Ferret, and somehow this team able to overcome the Gelatin and Wigglytuff core to take that game. So, GG's to win there into the next battle, a much more favourable lead matchup for me as we see a Shadow Cacturn, really good for the entire team. They're going to swap into a Shadow for Alligator. I go straight for Brutal Swing, realising that because they do swap out there, they're one turn behind, so I should really throw straight away, even though I realise Brutal Swing might not have grabbed the shield there, but at this point they are definitely in range where Brutal Swing will KO, and the opponent is just going to no shield. They now come in with a Shadow Drapion. I'm going to swap out into my Girder, and I'm just going to no shield. The opponent going to go for an Aqua Tail, fine with me. I'm going to look to overfarm. The opponent makes a nice catch there, catching onto Shadow Cacturn. And you can see a fully charged Brick Break nearly gets the one shot there. Honestly, I didn't undercharge that because I didn't realize it would do that much damage. But of course, that is a Shadow Cacturn we're talking about. But at this point, it's going to be game over. And I'm just going to come in with the Timburr to show off the final Pokemon on the team, make them realize it was a theme team, and we're able to take that game. So, GG's over there into the next battle. We're going to see an Empoleon in the lead. Now, of course, I'm not on counter, but the opponent does not stick around to find out. So, I'm actually quite happy with that because Conkeldurr kind of struggles into Empoleon with Poison Jab. But either way, we're going to swap into our Girder now. Malamar is a bit tricky for us. However, we are going to hit for neutral damage. And as well, they have to go for a superpower as Foul Play is resisted. It's not going to deal much damage. I'm going to no-shield once again, and again, they bait there. But of course, if they go for superpower, they drop their defense and their attack stat. Either way, doesn't matter as we can come in and farm down with the Conkeldurr, but their final Pokemon is Altaria. Now here, maybe I should have just banked the energy and swapped out of this matchup, but Dynamic Punch is going to grab the final shield. I guess we could be running Stone Edge on the Conkeldurr, but either way, we're going to shield here. Timburr has the tools to win this game, but does it have enough health and enough energy to take out both the Empoleon and the Altaria, which is still pretty much at full health? They swap back into Empoleon. We're going straight for Brick Break. Brick Break is going to, of course, connect, and and now I'm going to throw a second Brick Break. Brick Break will get the KO here, and we do overfarm a little bit, but I'm just not confident that Rock Tomb, after the nerf this season, will KO. I tried to catch a charge move, it doesn't work out, and as a result, Rock Tomb, is this enough damage? No, it's barely not enough there, even though I think with no nerf there to the damage output, Rock Tomb barely still wouldn't quite KO. Anyways, I needed to make the catch, which we don't get, and so unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's opponent there is the next battle. We're going to see Shadow Malamar this time in the lead, so not ideal for me, but I can go straight for Brutal Swing, and we're able to win CMP as the opponent is going to throw straight away. Now, once again, they very likely just go for a Foul Play bait. However, Foul Play does so much damage there. We're going to come in with the Timburr, and I'm actually not going to bother throwing. Instead, I'm going to commit one shield. This time, they do full send the superpower before swapping into a Shadow for Alligator. Now, we've already got back-to-back charge moves. We go for Brick Break number 1, dealing decent damage, dropping their defense, and now Brick Break number 2 might actually get the KO, so the opponent ends up shielding, and we win CMP with the Timburr. So we come in with the Girder, we won't be able to fully farm them down, so I'm going to swap out, make the catch onto my Shadow Conkeldurr, and hopefully Girder can sweep in the endgame. They're going to come in with a Shadow Charizard. I am not baiting here, I'm full sending Stone Edge. Stone Edge! Double super effective, easily gets the one shot. They come back in with the Malamar just to be farmed down, and then they concede the match. So, GG's moment into the next battle. We're going to see they come in with a Jellicent there, which is quite good for me because I was about to just swap out straight away into my Timburr because, of course, Poison Jab is triple resisted into the Galarian Stunfisk. However, I thought maybe the opponent might swap there, and they did exactly that. So, they come in with a Jellicent, fine with me. Unfortunately, in trying to throw on good timing here, I do allow the opponent to grab both of my shields before I do throw the next Brutal Swing. However, Brutal Swing, gonna hit for super effective. They actually no-shield that as because, well, they have obviously grabbed the shield there, so they realize they don't necessarily need to shield at that point. We're gonna catch a Surf, but they come in with a Wigglytuff, and this time we are actually gonna reach a Stone Edge, so I am full sending. Stone Edge is going to be shielded by the opponent. That is really unfortunate because if I just went for a Brick Break there, honestly, Dynamic Punch might threaten the KO. Whereas now you can see it still does huge damage, but we don't Poison Jab farm them down, and as a result, they will come out with likely an Icy Wind here, debuff my attack stats, but not only that, they can now just swap back into the Stunfisk, and I will reach a single Brick Break, but I'm debuffed. It's not going to do much damage, and with that Icy Wind chip damage, unfortunately, Earthquake will definitely be enough damage to take out the Timburr, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's opponent there into the next battle. I'm going to see Ferret in the lead. So a fine lead matchup for me. The opponent is going to likely eventually swap out of this matchup. And they do. They're going to swap into a Gligar. However, they're on Fury Cutter still. Of course, the Wing Attack did get buffed this season. Wing Attack definitely the preferred move you want to run on the Gligar this season. But we go for back-to-back Brutal Swings. And then I realize at this point, even if they do have Aerial Ace, it's not going to deal too much damage. They won't be able to fast move farm me down. But they full send a Dig instead, likely on Night Slash as the other charge move, and now they come back in with the Ferret. I'm going straight for Brick Break. Brick Break going to be shielded by the opponent, and they've got quite a lot of energy. However, I should still outpace them, especially if they go for a Trailblaze, and I'm going for Brick Break number 2. They're already debuffed here, so Brick Break gets the KO, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Bug Bite Shadow Fortress, which is absolutely fine with me. We can, of course, resist the fast move pressure, go straight for Brick Break, drop their defense. They no-shield the first, which they should do. However, of course, now I'm dealing more damage with the low kicks. I can just safely no-shield a Sand Tomb. They drop my defense as well, but it doesn't make a huge difference here. Brick Break going to grab the final shield. I can commit to a full fast move farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. I'm going to see Florges in the lead, so not a great matchup for me. However, I do have access to Poison Jab, and I realize they are very likely going to go for a Chilling Water immediately, so I might as well fire off a Brutal Swing before they debuff my attack stat. Not only that, I can now outpace them to the next charge move if I shield once. Unfortunately, can't quite go for a full farm down. However, I'm just going to bank the energy and swap into Girder. Girder is going to catch the Chilling Water before they come in, but they come in with a Pokemon weak to the fighting typing. Now, I am debuffed here, but that's okay. The opponent full sends a Shadow Ball, but Girder able to hang on and might actually be able to reach 2 charge moves before they fully farm me down, and Girder is going to do exactly that. Brick Break number 2 is going to be double shielded by the opponent, so now I'm just going to swap into my Timburr. Now, I should be able to reach another Brick Break here on CMP. The opponent does not make a catch either, so Brick Break is double debuffed already. It's going to get the KO. They're now going to come in with a Jellicent, so I don't understand why they came in with the Licky Licky at all into the girder. Maybe expecting my triple fighting team there, but either way, we're in a great position now. We have a Brutal Swing banked from the Conkeldurr. All I need to do, no shield this. Brutal Swing actually still probably won't quite take out a Jellicent. However, what it will do is easily put them into Poison Jab farm down range, so Brutal Swing doesn't KO, but the opponent recognizing there's nothing they can do, and so they just concede the match. So, GG's won there into the next battle. We're going to see Morpeko in the lead. A slightly awkward matchup for me. If we had counter, they would need to get out of this matchup ASAP. But because I'm on Poison Jab, they're not taking too much fast move pressure. They full send an Aura Wheel. I'm going to swap out into my Girder right now, as of course, I'm going to deal more damage with the low kicks as they are super effective, but they're going to come in with Azumarill. Now, I'm going to go straight for a Brick Break here, and then hopefully, if the opponent does overfarm slightly, we can go for a Stone Edge. And of course, Stone Edge now going to do quite a lot of damage since I have dropped their defense. The opponent is, however, still going to go for a massive overfarm, and unfortunately, what this means is that Conkeldurr just barely won't quite get a full farm down. You're going to see I'm going to have to throw a Brutal Swing. That is quite frustrating for me, but Brutal Swing is actually going to be shielded by the Azumarill. So this one, I'm hoping that they are weak to fighting in the back. Of course, we know they've got a Morpeko as well, so at this point they come back in with the Morpeko. They're going straight for the charge move. This should just be a Psychic Fangs. However, I'm going to shield anyways, commit to a full farm down, and let's see what the opponent's final Pokemon is. It's going to be a Credilli. Now, unfortunately, with that debuff to my defense, I think a Grass Knot will pretty much KO here. So at this point, I think I'm actually going to have to go for a Rock Tomb instead. Rock Tomb should, of course, debuff their attack stat, and can we now live the charge move? It's going to be super close. The opponent goes for Grass Knot. We actually do hang on, but we don't reach a charge move there. I do wonder if maybe I went for the Rock Tomb first. Maybe I could have lived a few more Bullet Seeds there, and I could have won that game. But anyways, GG to our trainer into the next battle. Going to see another Morpeko in the lead. The opponent is going to swap into a Corviknight as we come in with a Timburr. So I'm going to no-shield this, as Air Cutter is going to hit for super effective damage. However, it doesn't deal too much damage there, and I should really no-shield the first one, unless I'm going for a Rock Tomb, because they can, of course, get a boost with the the Air Cutter, sorry. But they do get the boost this time around. I've dropped their defense, however, so now I'm going to go for a Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb is going to get the KO there, as I had debuffed them. And now they come back in with the Morpeko, but I'm able to reach another Brick Break. So Brick Break is going to be shielded by the opponent. I do allow them to farm me down, but now I'm just going to no shield. Of course, Aura will do huge damage, but they bait with a Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs still is going to hit for super effective damage, and the next one should be grabbing my final shield. However, they're not going to reach another one, so the opponent is going to be forced to swap out, but I'm predicting they are going to swap out straight away, and unfortunately they come in with a Shadow Quagsire. So, of course, Poison Jabs are going to be resisted in this matchup. I'm going for Dynamic Punch here, as this is going to do a lot more damage than a Brutal Swing, but unfortunately, they end up shielding. However, wait a second. We reach a last-second Brutal Swing, but the opponent, they panic. They throw at the last second there, and as a result, that's a CMP tie. I can now outpace them. All I need to do is make sure the opponent doesn't make a catch, which they're not able to do so. We can go for the Brick Break, get the KO there. We can go for the low kick farm down, taking out Morpeko, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's won there into the next battle. I'm going to see Azumarill in the lead. So this is actually fine with me, as we do have access to Poison Jab. Of course, yes, my charge moves are going to be resisted. However, Dynamic Punch is a very efficient move. It is going to deal decent damage here, and hopefully that will allow me to one shield and then fully farm them down. They do, however, bait with an Ice Beam before swapping into a Gourgeist, so that's not ideal for me. Yes, we do have coverage on our Conkeldurr, but the rest of my team is really going to struggle up against the Gourgeist. So I'm actually going to double shield here, because I can get both shields likely from the opponent by going for a second Brutal Swing. However, I'm not going to be in the best position. Brutal Swing going to be shielded. I'm now going to swap out of that matchup and into Timburr, and if they full send a Shadow Ball, I should still barely live this, and I will be able to reach a charge move into Azumarill. We can go for Rock Tomb here, and I'm actually going to go for a slight undercharge, which does not get the KO, and it forces them to throw some energy. This is going to allow Girder to get slightly ahead on energy. Of course, I'm only going to have one fast move to farm them down, but honestly, honestly, any slight energy advantage is going to be helpful, except up against a Shadow Annihilate, because of course, they're just going to resist everything I can possibly throw. So at this point, it's going to be game over here. They do swap back into Gorgeist, and I'm going to try and make this look somewhat remotely close here by going for a Stone Edge. A Stone Edge is going to get the KO there, and we can reach another Stone Edge before they fully farm me down, but it's game over. Stone Edge is resisted. It's non-stab. I tried to swap out Catch a Charge, but it doesn't really matter. They can just fast move, farm down the remainder of my team, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up on there into the next battle. I'm going to see a Shadow Alola Ninetales in the lead. So honestly, not that bad of a matchup for me. But again, they're going to swap into a Ghost type, where my only play really is just to stay in with the Conkeldurr. However, this time Brutal Swing is just going to hit for neutral damage, as they are a Ghost and Dark type Pokemon. But they no-shield both charge moves here, which doesn't quite get the KO. But the opponent also baits with a Foul Play, which also doesn't get the KO. So I snipe with the Timburr as they come back in with the Ninetales. I'm going to show the first charge move, as the opponent is going to go for a Chilling Water debuff for my attack stat. So now I'm forced to go for the Rock Tomb. However, Rock Tomb, super effective, it gets the KO, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Quagsire. I am still debuffed, so I'm actually just going to no-shield this, bank the Brick Break, and then swap into my Girder, because Girder more likely to grab a shield with a Brick Break of its own. The opponent going to go for an Arctel, which we can tank pretty comfortably. I'm now going to look to overfarm and throw on the CMP tie. We farmed up a ton of energy, so Brick Break is going to grab the shield, and now all I need to do, shield here. I can then look to overfarm once again. I'm going to go for a Brick Break just before they reach the charge move. They do actually look to overfarm here, however, it doesn't matter. We grab the final shield, we go for the combo play. We've got the Brick Break loaded on Timburr. They're double debuffed. Brick Break takes out the Shadow Quagsire, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up there into the next battle. I'm going to see Shadow Alola Ninetales in the lead. So, this is a fairly neutral matchup here. They can outpace me to the first charge move. However, this probably just going to be a Weather Ball, so I'm going to no-shield this. I guess technically it could have been a Side Shock, which would have one-shot me. However, I then swap at the same time as the opponent. Really unfortunate for me as they come in with a Jellicent. But I'm going to go for Rock Tomb. You can see that really doesn't do much damage at all. Of course, low kicks are double resisted, so I'm not going to be able to put them into range where even if I land 2 Rock Tombs, I can farm them down here. So, really not ideal for me in the slightest, but they full send the Shadow Ball this time around after baiting with a Surf, which again, not great for me, but Rock Tomb is going to connect there, and actually, I can reach a last second Brick Break, and the opponent kind of does me a favor here as they swap and they catch it onto Ninetales, where they're going to end up shielding. Now, they have the energy for an Overheat. I'm going to shield this, and the opponent is going to full send, which is huge for me because now the opponent is sort of going to panic and just throw a Weather Ball, but they're double debuffed. I can now commit to a full fast move farm down, and I come out with so much energy. However, Jellicent unfortunately did bank a charge move, so I'm not going to get off all the energy. Instead, I go for Brick Break as I need to drop the defense there, but the opponent going to go for Surf. Surf takes us out there. Their final Pokemon, wait a second, they've got a Furret in the back. Dynamic Punch gets the one shot, but can we reach a Brutal Swing? No, unfortunately, we're never getting there, and they can just Hex, farm down the remainder of my team, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up in there into the final battle, going to lead into a Fortress. So not a great matchup for me. However, the opponent is going to swap out straight away into a Quagsire. Again, Poison Jab is resisted into 2 of their 3 Pokemon that we've already seen, which isn't really ideal for me. However, we're going to go for a Dynamic Punch, and this is either going to do huge damage or grab a shield. Now, honestly, I would have just preferred if they no-shielded that, as that would have put them into range where I could just come in and low kick farm them down with either the Timburr or the Girder. But either way, we're going to go for a Brick Break. Brick Break is going to be no-shield. It doesn't deal too much damage the first time around, but likewise, I can still live an Arctel from this range, so going to no-shield this, and we are going to reach another Brick Break on the CMP tie. So Brick Break, going to be no-shielded, gets the KO there. I swap out straight away into Timburr, and I'm going to reach another Brick Break into the Fortress. Brick Break is going to be no-shielded. Again, it doesn't do too much damage the first time, but it drops the defense there. The opponent also going to drop my own defense with a Sand Tomb before they come in with a Poliwrath. Now again, going to go for another Brick Break here, as of course, we're looking to drop their defense, deal as much damage as we possibly can. Again, not doing too much damage there yet, but they're going to go for an Icy Wind, which is not ideal. However, I can now swap out clear the debuff, and then fire off a brutal swing. Now I'm actually going to undercharge this just in case they end up no shielding, but they do end up shielding there. And they're also, well, never mind, I was thinking of a different battle maybe. They do not go for the undercharge, but I've put them into range where I can just fully farm them down. I'm now going to go for a Rock Tomb, drop their attack stat, dealing a bit more damage as well with the than I would have done with a Brick Break, and now I can just safely shield this up here. I will be able to go for a full farm down. I come out with another move loaded, as the opponent just concedes the match. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.